I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need. In the off-white Rari, baby, we run the streets. I'm a K-I-N-G, Westside royalty. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, that's all you need. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Here with Stephen Basito on my podcast, Get It. And today I have a special guest who is a dear friend of mine. Her name is Elise, and she married my buddy Josh. The last name is now Itano. And she is a doctor. And given the world we live in now with COVID, as well as the new presidential election stuff and just everything that we're in, I thought now would be a great time to get some advice, tips, some insight into what it took for her to become a doctor, and then some things that are going on in the world with COVID. She would have a little bit more knowledge on that versus someone like me who does nothing with medicine except I take my vitamins every day, and we get to hang out a little bit. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, let's talk about why did you want to become a doctor? And then what did that look like for you? Because I know that I always hear, especially like student athletes I have that will talk about how they want to get into the medical field. But then they don't always make it very far because it really is hard. And I don't know that, especially for someone like myself, I don't hear a lot about, I know it's a lot of years, but I also don't know how hard is it really to become a doctor.
Well, we're going way back.
So hit us with a couple of things. So let's hear about, when did you know you wanted to become a doctor? And then what was that like for you?
To be honest, I feel like it's just something that I've kind of always known. I don't know if there was ever a point that I was like, switch flipped on and, decided that's what I wanted to do. My parents are both in healthcare. So both my parents are physical therapists.
Okay.
They met in PT school. And so they just grew up in the healthcare environment. I have always been a supporter, an emotional supporter, and I feel like I've always had a good connection with people and understanding. But it wasn't. For me, it just kind of seemed like it was always this path that I just needed to complete.
Okay.
It was, I knew I wanted to be in medicine. I mean, so everything that I did was always, health and science oriented. And then you just chip away, one step at a time, overcoming all the obstacles, and then you're there.
Okay. And how many years were you in school for?
What do you count as school?
College. So you went through
there's a lot of
high school. So how many years were you in college after? Because you went right.
Yeah. So So I guess technically, I finished my schooling a year ago, right? And I'm 32.
Okay.
So I graduated high school in 2006.
Okay.
And I finished last year.
So you started college in this fall of 2006.
2006. Yep.
Okay, what school did you go to?
College, I was at Vanderbilt University in Nashville.
All right, and
I did majored in biomedical engineering, and again, medicine related. I was the opposite of literature, right? So I knew that I didn't want to write and read, and which is a good thing. It just wasn't my forte. So engineering was my pathway to honestly not have to take as many literature classes.
Okay.
I think as a liberal arts person would. And so I was at Vanderbilt, graduated in 2010. From there, I actually got a full scholarship to medical school. I mean, I remember opening the envelope when I was walking to class one morning. I can't remember if it was my junior or senior year, but I just started crying. So I got a really good scholarship at UT Southwestern back in Dallas.
Okay.
I was kind of on the fence between going there and going back to Rice. So I knew I wanted to go back to Texas. So Rice is in Houston, UT Southwestern is in Dallas, to be closer to family. So I got an amazing scholarship, went to UT Southwestern. I was there from 2010 to 2014. I did an intern year. So I graduated medical school 2014. Intern year after that, back in San Antonio. So that was 2015. And then I did a residency in California where I met Josh and you guys. And that was 3 years. So that was 15 to 18. And then I did a fellowship, a spine, sports and spine fellowship.
So what does a fellowship mean?
When you specialize in something. So
Okay.
I did my residency in physical medicine and rehabilitation, which is, I would say in general, treating musculoskeletal and nerve disorders.
Okay.
So anything from traumatic brain injuries to spinal cord injuries. On the inpatient side, we treat a lot of patients that come into the hospital. They get really weak in the hospital. And so we'll see them and kind of work with them to get their strength again before they go back home.
Okay. So really quickly, because I do have a question. So, okay, so you do residency in your internship, and I think everybody understands what that is. And that's where you're going into the field now, you're figuring out, you're shadowing doctors, you're seeing what happens, right?
So I guess technically medical school, you're doing most of the shadowing, right? You're kind of shadowing the residents and the doctors. By the time you graduate medical school, you're actually working. So that's I would say that was the bigger change. You're not really shadowing. I mean, you're the one that you're writing the orders.
Paid for this, or is it still classified as an internship?
You get paid for your internship and your residency, but it is I hate to say that it is underpaid, right, for the hours that you work and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So you're still training, but you are getting paid. So you are no longer paying the institution, right, to teach you.
And then, so now between that and a fellowship, so what is a fellowship?
Yeah. So
what does that difference?
Intern year is just your first year residency, right? Okay. And then you do residency, which is training in your field. So for me, it's physical medicine and rehab. And then a fellowship is if you want to specialize within something further in that field. So like if you did internal medicine as your residency, you could specialize in cardiology. Okay. Or, so for me, I did physical medicine rehab and I'm specializing in spine, spine and sports medicine.
So do you enjoy what you do?
I do. Yeah. Honestly, I don't. Sometimes it can be hard because it's trying to solve problems all day, solving problems that people don't, it's very emotional, right? So a lot of spine care that I do is pain. It's low back pain, it's neck pain, it's hand pain, it's weird tingling sensations, which can be really worrisome to people. And, they come in looking for answers and I don't always have an answer right away. Some of it is figuring it out. Sometimes we never get an answer, when we just try to treat symptoms, and it's, it can be really emotionally taxing. I think for somebody who feels really connected to people in general, I've tried to explain it to people before. Like, imagine if you have a big family, and you had your uncle come to you, at 1 o'clock, telling you like, he gets these terrible headaches and he can't sleep, and he doesn't know what to do about him. Can you help him? And then your aunt comes at 3 and tells you, she has this terrible arm pain, and so it's just these people, patients are coming, with things that they're having trouble with. They can't sleep, they're having trouble functioning, and they're looking to you to help them, right, and help them get through. But for me, again, because I feel connected to most of them. I mean, we spend an hour. I try to spend it about 45 minutes to an hour. You feel, you empathize with what they're going through, and just like, oh, that sounds terrible. I'm really sorry. And especially when you have a harder time, especially when I have a harder time figuring out what it is, we try a couple of things, nothing's working. It can become emotionally taxing, but at the end of the day, I always think like, I don't think I would want to be doing anything else. I couldn't.
Do you have like a
anything
network
else.
of people you're able to talk to? So I come to you and I
Yeah.
say, you know, I've got this neck pain, it's shooting down my spine, my back's seizing up, and you're like, okay, tried a couple things that would be, let's say, more common, and
Right.
nothing's helping.
Yeah.
At that point, do you have a network of doctors you're able to go to and be like, hey guys, I've got this patient, this is what's going on, this is what I prescribed. Like, has anybody seen anything like this?
I mean, ultimately, you know, we have our forums, right? So I'm part of like the American Academy of Physical Medicine and Rehab, or you know, you have your academic forums, and so you can, you know, and you have your Facebook groups and, you know, your support groups. So I can always send out an email or send out, you know, something to the group saying, hey, you know, I don't know what to do with this guy. You know, he's, you know, does anybody have any help or any input? You know, and so it's more casual, I guess. With where I work, I don't have anything like that because I'm the first PM&R provider that they have there, right? So I'm kind of my own department.
Okay.
So you know, I don't have anybody in person, but I do have, you know, I have my old fellowship directors and my old, you know, mentors from residency and the people that I went to residency with. You know, I kick back and ask them questions all the time. Some of my people that I did fellowship with, you know, I'm saying, hey, you know, I don't typically, for example, I don't typically do kids. Like I have this kid who came in, you know, would you do anything different? And you know, I can send out messages like that, which is helpful. I mean, it definitely is helpful having somebody there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, I know it's kind of a hot topic, but it's the world that we live in. So you are a medical professional. We still have COVID, and now with the record numbers that are being
right
daily and I think weekly right now.
Mm-hmm.
So how has that affected you? And then what are a couple of the big myths that are out there that you would say, like, look, this is definitely 100% not true? Or what are a couple, you know, things out there that maybe have been confusing topics, and you know, like, you say, oh, well, this is a confusing topic, but here's the clarity on it.
Right. I mean, that's a hard question to answer because I still feel like even in the medical community, we don't know. You know, we get different reports about how effective, you know, face shields are with masks and gloves, and, you know, what should you recommend to the population versus what you do in the clinic, you know, ourselves, you know, as we're seeing patients, you know, daily, and we can't just stay home from work, you know,
right.
and do, you know,
and are those things pretty effective though, like the face shield, the mask?
Yeah, I mean, you know, of course, anything that you can do to create that barrier between you and the other person.
All right, so really quickly, I don't mean to cut you off, but I have questions. Okay. All right, so with the mask thing, so we live in Denver, and for those who don't know, there's a pretty strict mask mandate here. And look, I don't really care if I have to wear a mask here and there. If it's protecting me and, at this point, my very pregnant wife and my daughter, and it's protecting other people, I'm good with it. Another thing too is I would say I have only been sick once this year, which I don't get sick a lot, but to only be sick one time for the whole year, and we're almost at the end of the year, that's actually kind of nice. And part of it has been social distancing, isolating, masks, all the stuff. But look, I hate wearing masks. I'm not going to sit here and like say I like it, especially when I go to like work out 24-hour fitness. I've been going like every day. I have a mask that restricts oxygen as it is. And then I'm trying to work out, and we just moved here recently. So the altitude thing still plays, you know, to my oxygen level.
You're essentially doing oxygen deficit training.
Oh, dude.
So you're training to the
right
max.
now. Yeah, in an extreme. Yeah. But, you know, look, we'll have Facebook and social media, right? And you see so many people like so aggressive that not wear them. And I don't understand, like, unless, like, I get it if you have like some sort of an issue or condition where you can't wear it.
Yeah.
But like, what is the big kicker for people? And again, like, if you're outside, I don't think you should wear one, right? If you're in your car by yourself, you don't need to wear one. But like when you're around a bunch of people you don't know, just to play on the safe side of things, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which it seems like that's pretty generalized. It's just to be an extra measure of safety. Why would people, or what's the what are the negatives, or are there negatives, or what have you seen as the people why they don't want to do it?
You are preaching to the choir here. I think obviously, I guess there have been reports, saying that do we know, are masks effective? Are they not effective? This is still a version. The coronavirus is a version of one of the common flu viruses, right? This is a coronavirus that has evolved into what it is. And so yes, I mean, any kind of barrier you can make is going to make a difference, right? So mask wearing, face shields, gloves, right? If you they say it's spread by breathing, right, and then through the air, but it's any kind of protection you can have for yourself, and not only to protect yourself but to protect other people. I agree with that, and I think that's what we should be doing while the numbers are so high. For the people that are saying, I guess for health reasons, theoretically, I guess, again, this is not what I do. I'm not like a pulmonologist, so I'm not seeing these kinds of patients. But if they said, they had difficulty breathing, or they're, it's somebody who requires oxygen or something like that. But to me, I don't see why you couldn't put oxygen on under a mask, right? And so
Sure.
So it's
oxygen, you're essentially wearing a mask anyways, right?
You could have through the nose, right? And the nasal cannulas. So I think you're asking the wrong person, because I don't know. I can't think of a reason that would be a good excuse.
Well, I didn't know if there was like something maybe that came out of the medical community against mask wearing that I just was unaware of. Because again, I don't spend a lot of time. Yeah. We were talking about this earlier. I don't really spend a lot of time watching the news. It just makes my life easier. Yeah. And we'll go off on the tangent of news. It's overwhelming, right? And I know that. So you see all this craziness going on in the world, and if you're putting that in your brain all the time, it's hard to separate yourself out of that, right? I limit my social media time too, and we're still going through the process of the presidential election right now. So much like intenseness. And I will tell you this. So my wife, Tara, so she has a woman that she's been, they're not best friends. They're more than acquaintances. So she calls her a friend. I won't say who this person is, but we were driving to Starbucks 2 days ago, and they were communicating initially about something in regards to work. And so the person asked Tara who she voted for. And because we moved to Colorado after the deadline for voter registration, we didn't vote. And so Tara just said, hey, I'm not a political person. I didn't vote, as we moved here too late. And I don't know, because I couldn't vote. I just not really paying attention. And so the person that she was talking to kept pressing the issue, well, who would he vote for? And Tara was like, listen, there's things about both candidates that I think are, policy or whatever. And there's things that, obviously I'm not a big fan of. And she, and she just said, look, I'm not sold on either one of them, but I didn't vote. I wasn't able to vote. So I just don't really, I'm not putting it doesn't matter to me at this point. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. The world's going to move forward. And her point was look, in the history of our lives, no matter who's been president, there hasn't been some exponential, radical, crazy change, right? And I would say that's a pretty accurate depiction, right? And so the person was basically well, if you're not committing to have voted for Biden, we can't talk. We just don't see the world the same. Went off on her and blocked her from everything. And all right,
it is
for someone that didn't even vote or have an opinion.
Right. No, it is pretty alarming that there, and I've seen it too, just friendships ending, or for a political party, right? For what your political views are, either way. And it's I mean, that you're going way back to how the split, right? The socializing split of the United States, part of that the social media issue,
sure,
right? And
sure.
I mean, people are typically very strongly one way or the other.
Yeah.
Or right in
Which,
the middle.
I really like Josh, your husband. So he's more of a liberal blue type guy. And then we have like our core group of friends, which are a little bit more on the red, right side, and so we're all in this huge tech stream. But the things I love about it is that we're all really good friends, and we can all have different opinions about stuff, and it doesn't change anything. Like we all still love each other. And one of the things I always tell people is like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you vote for. The person that's president that you voted for, if things go south, they're not going to help you.
Right.
Your friends, your family, your neighbors are. So don't let, you can respectfully disagree on stuff.
Exactly.
So with going back to kind of the main question too, the whole mask thing, you can respectfully disagree, right? Like you don't have to agree with everything that comes out about it. But then I look at just common sense wise, look, is it that big of an inconvenience for you? I understand some people just really don't like to be told what to do, but at the end of the day, I'm like, look, man, it doesn't really matter. Is it that hard for you to do something for a short stint of time? If you don't like wearing it, then don't have a gym membership, right? Where they require it, you can minimize that in your life.
And I think that just comes back to, honestly, I think it's being selfish. It's not just for you. It's not protecting you. I mean, you are protecting yourself, but it's more about protecting the community, and you don't know who you're going to run into.
Well, and giving people peace of mind. 100%.
There are immunocompromised people that you don't know their story, right? And it's and you're protecting them, right? I'm sure they're doing everything they can to probably not even be outside, right? So they don't risk themselves. But
so one other question, and I'll move on because I know the mask thing is kind of beating a dead horse at this point. But so look, there's a million types of masks out there, and people are just wearing cloth, which is still okay. What's the effectiveness of a mask that you can purchase at I don't even know what they're called, just let's say a medical mask you purchase versus wearing
like a gaiter,
just a face scarf or something?
Yeah, so I don't know the stats on it, but I can tell you that at our hospital and the hospital system that surrounds us, we have mandated that you cannot wear cloth face masks, homemade masks, gaiters, ski, the ski masks, I guess, that it has to be a medical mask. So again, I am not on our coronavirus, COVID task force.
Right.
So I don't know the reason that they made that decision, but that was something, that they decided was important enough to do, and that they're investing enough money to provide a medical mask to anybody that comes through the doors if they don't already have one.
Okay.
And for a hospital system who's probably running at about 50%, of what typical, I think, revenue is, I think that's a huge statement to make, because, I go home and tell Josh, we're limited with our masks. I can ask for a new mask one time every 2 weeks, if I need it. Right. So I have a mask that I wear, I have to wear it for at least 2 weeks. And it gets kind of gross, I don't know. I have to wear a mask every day,
That's
right?
Sure.
So I'm wearing these masks.
And you can't wash it, right?
And they're not washable. You talk in it, sweat in it, I get makeup in it, and so we're, for us, right? So I'm limited with a mask that I can get, and I know, and they're giving them to the community, right? So that's a strong thing to say that, we're, we're reserved with what we can take, and, we will give a new one to every single person that walks in this door, right? If they don't have one. So I think that says something to the importance. One
every once in a while,
right?
I know. Grab one real quick.
Let me tell you, there is a, what do you call it, like a black market for masks at the hospital. Just like, hey, you have your stash, and I'll take you my cabinet here. You can have one of mine. I mean, it's nice. It's a thing. And so I think that if our COVID task force thought that it was important enough, then I think that has something to say for effectiveness. And again, like I said, I don't know what the numbers are, but I trust what they do, right? These are the immunologists and the people that work in infectious disease, that are making these decisions. And like I said, they did a fellowship in these, topics. And so I completely trust what they're saying.
I think that there's through the lens of a person that I just see and hear things, right? So I think everybody in America knows who Dr. Fauci is. I have no idea what he's even a doctor in as far as like what his specialty was, right? We just know that he's a person that we hear things from. And again, this is my own fault for not probably watching enough news around that. But I
have to be honest, I'm there with you. They say that, when you're in medicine, and that is completely me. Not everybody's like that. I think some people in medicine have hobbies here and there, but I am completely involved in it, and so I don't watch a lot of news. I don't, keep up with a lot of the other times.
Well, but I think that's the important thing, right? Is understanding these top level experts, like they're trained and they spent their whole career in one thing, right? Which is one particular practice in medicine, which is a very large scope of things. So, and I don't think people truly understand. So give us a ballpark number. How many different specialties, ballpark it for me. Just give me in medicine, like
specialties, subspecialties,
all of it.
Everything?
Just like, because you got your family practitioner,
hundreds. Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yeah, it's so primarily, when you talk about residencies, there's probably I don't know, just making a number off the top of my head. Maybe I could probably come up with maybe 15 different types of primary residencies.
Okay.
Which would be like internal medicine, surgery, dermatology, right? So general categories. And then from that though, you can, each one can branch off into probably 6 to 10 to 15, depending on what you're in, different subspecialties, right? So it's because huge.
You have like the pulmonary system, right? Or the cardiovascular system.
Yeah.
Which there's very intricate and there's a lot of parts of that. And you have like people who specialize in like veins, and you've got thousands of veins through your body that pump blood, and like brain and the different aspects of the brain.
And now you're kind of getting into something, that's another, maybe probably a topic for another day, but just how specialized medicine has become.
100%.
Right.
Which is really important. I think that people need to understand too, like when you're seeing a specialist or somebody that has been in the medical field, like they listen, they got dialed in. This is their whole world and what they've spent years and years and years and years studying just to be able to practice. And then that's their whole focus, is whatever that lane is.
There are pros and cons. Yes. I mean, you have these people that are dialed into that issue, but then the problem is they are dialed out of all of the other issues, right?
But that's why there's different specialists for different things, right?
But if you can imagine, the frustration of the patients coming, because you come to a doctor and you're like, well, I have this pain here and in my hand, and my knee or my hip, and then it's my spine, and they come to a specialist, and so especially, okay, well, I'll treat your wrist, but your back and your neck is somebody else. You have to go to somebody else for that. It's a lot of physicians, and then you get, you have your back doctor, your wrist doctor,
to give you like
your heart doctor.
To bounce off that. So when like about 6 years ago. So I started like blacking out, for no reason at all. I just black out. And like I'd have these stints where we'd be having a conversation, all of a sudden, just like turning on the light switch, I start slurring my speech.
Oh, really? That's really scary.
I just like felt like I was drunk.
Yeah.
It was bad. So I came home one day, because I did own a gym business at one point. So this is when I owned my gym business. Came home from the gym, and I couldn't even work out because I was like just physically struggling. And I would get these like crazy, insane migraines. And I had never had migraines before. And that was like, it's intense when you get migraines. There's a couple of times where I had employees, I have a couple of coaches, and I would literally have my coaches take the clients and I go lay in one of my spare offices, turn out all the lights, shut the door, like throw just a headset on just to keep trying to buffer the noise a bit.
Yeah.
And I just lay there for a half hour and just focus on my breathing. And then it was bad. So anyways, I get home, I tell Tara about what's been going on. And so I go and I see like my general doctor, tell her about everything that's happening. So she sends me to ears, throat, and nose specialist. I see that person. And then they send me to a vision specialist. I see that person. And then they send me to a third specialist. I can't remember, like maybe a neck specialist. Go back to my doctor, find out that I might have brain tumors. And then my insurance cut out. I had a lapse for a month, so I had to wait for my insurance to kick back in. That was my last visit. Oh, you know, there's a concern you might have brain tumors. You know, you pass all this stuff, right? So we think that this could be the next thing. Yeah. So then I had to go get an MRI. So I had to wait a month. Go get my insurance back. Go get the MRI on my brain. Thank the Lord, had no brain tumors. But that came back negative. And I saw 2 more doctors after that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I saw 6 doctors.
Yeah.
Then I went back to my normal doctor to find out that everything was clear. Like I was in the good for everything. So like, dude, this is not a normal problem to have though, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been months now. And definitely there was, you know, I'm a pretty laid back person. I think you can vouch for that at this point. I, for the first time, was like just really like discouraged.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a little frustrated because it's like, dude, I've seen 6 specialists, my doctor, which puts me at 7. I've got MRIs, I've done this vision thing, I've done this ear thing, I've done all these different things. And there's no solution to the problem. So backing up even further now, I used to see a chiropractor. I'm not, listen, whatever you feel on chiropractors is fine. I'm not a big fan of chiropractors per se, but I had one that was amazing. And he always cracked like my neck, my spine. I used to do MMA fighting, which is a very aggressive physical sport. And I've had like ribs knocked out of place and had my body, you know, you get fighting all the time. So your body gets put in really weird ways and stuff. So I hadn't seen my chiropractor for, at this point, probably like a year. And just simply from that, I have a couple pinched nerves in my neck and stuff. And so just getting my neck cracked. So I went and saw a chiropractor just because I was like, dude, like my neck was so stiff, my back was so stiff, my spine and everything. I was like, I just need to go see my chiropractor. I'm still in the midst of this journey, you know, trying to figure out what's going on.
Having these headaches and
he
these weird
literally
episodes and
freaking cracked me up. I'm sorry, he adjusted me. I was fine. After that, I didn't have any problems for months. So then I just made regular appointments like I think I went every month. I get my neck adjusted.
So I'm in physical medicine rehabilitation. I do sports and spine. And what we try to do is approach things, from the most conservative way possible, right? So doing what we can do to keep you moving and functional without surgery, really. And so I use a lot of, what we call alternative therapies. And, I use a lot of that in my practice. So I actually refer out to chiropractors all the time. I refer to massage therapists. I refer to acupuncturists. We do, I refer to functional medicine doctors who do a lot with nutrition and, just kind of whole body health. We talk a lot about exercise.
I had a network of doctors of like 6 to 8 that I constantly had patients referred to, especially for physical stuff, because like I'm a strength conditioning coach and I've done so much stuff with people with physical things. Like I've had people that couldn't even walk come to me that like they couldn't walk without it's not crutches, but it's like a walker. Thank you. And I've had people come and say, I haven't been able to walk without this walker in 5 years. They couldn't even step up a box that was like an inch, maybe 2 inches. And after a year, they were walking up steps by themselves. The walker gone after like 2 months. They were actually doing not marathons because that's too long, but like they're doing races like 5Ks, 10Ks. I had one lady, she was doing like pole dancing classes and the stilts thing class. I mean, she's doing all kinds of stuff.
Everything,
she'd gone 5 years using a walker. So definitely that was always, I love that aspect of what I did, getting to take the people that, another thing too is like, much like you have a specialty with being a strength conditioning coach. And I would say that my take on it, right? We're responsible for helping people and people that need it, that a lot of like your normal trainer is not gonna be able to do it. And I would always have clients that would come like, well, no trainer will work with me. Like, perfect. And that means that you're my ideal client. And the things I was able to do with people was just phenomenal. But being able to see how you personally affect and change their entire life and the course of their entire life was always such a fun and exciting thing, because you know that you help literally change their entire life, and now they're able to do stuff because of the work that you did with them.
Exactly. I feel like my job when they come to me is to rule out dangerous things, right? So you're having this weird pain, numbness, tingling, headaches, whatever it might be. My job is to rule out the things that are dangerous and could be life-threatening, or could be if it's a strength issue that it'll be permanent, right? Something like that. So I feel like after we have ruled out the things that are dangerous, most of it is competence and just kind of getting back into, doing, and working through the pain and, trying to, I've read a lot, and part of that is because I've read a lot in like the mind-body connection and, how you can retrain, your brain and your muscles and mindset to retrain the brain connectivity, to know that you can do something and that it's not hurting anything, you're not making anything worse, just try to push through it and try
so how much of that do you think is mindset, like on the things that you've seen?
A lot of it,
because I talk about mindset a lot.
Oh, I do too. Actually, that is, I talk about like the 4 pillars, the way that we treat. I would say that 3 of those 4 are pretty conventional. So, we treat with therapy, like hands-on therapy, and that's the chiropractors, the physical therapists, massage therapists. We treat with medicines, like pharmaceuticals. We treat with injection therapies.
Okay.
And the 4th leg is going to be that, mind-body, connection, right? The mindset, the way you interpret what's going on, right? And a lot of pain is interpretation, right? Everybody experiences it differently. It's very emotional. And so, kind of working through that.
Right. So let me ask you a question. Okay. So, because mindset is so important, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that was going to be one of my last things to bring up to you. But, so going back to the mindset stuff and in relation to pain, is that a mindset thing? Because you hear about people who have a higher pain tolerance. And for myself, I tell people I have a higher pain tolerance, but I do believe a big part of that is mindset. Like, I can take a lot of physical pain. Really, a big part was how I grew up, and I had to take physical pain. I didn't have a choice.
Right.
And not to get into that story for another day, but so I've always, from a young age, been like, dude, hit me with whatever you got, because physically I can take pain like no other. Emotional pain is the worst for me. Like when me and Sarah were going through our miscarriages, oh man, that was the worst. That was the absolute worst pain I've ever felt in my life, but it was emotional pain. So going back to the physical side of that, how much
you're trying to separate it, emotional and physical. It's all one experience, right? So
we're just talking about the physical for now, right? Because I didn't mean to get the emotional side, but from a physical standpoint,
the definition of pain is both, though, right? There is a physical pain that you feel because of an acute injury to your body, right? Damage to tissues, and that's something that you feel. But there's also this emotional experience that's tied to it, right? So pain, by definition, you cannot just classify it as physical or emotional or psychosocial, right? It is all encompassing. And so when you treat pain, whether it's acute pain or chronic pain, you have to take in all of that into consideration, right? Which I think is one of the reasons that our visits are so long typically in the office, is because you have to incorporate previous injuries, experiences. All of that, right? All of that has to do with the way, so there is a physical injury that happens to your body, tissue damage. And then there's the way that you interpret that and the way that it is processed up to your brain, in the way, and then the pain is something that is experienced.
Okay.
Right. It's when you talk about tissue damage, I could bring up, they have the monks that
well, that was going to be something to bring up, right? Yeah, they walk on the freaking hot ashes, or they're like sitting they're literally sitting in snow for hours. And at no point does that disrupt them, and their body is complete. Like,
I mean, it's yes, I know. So we're
stuff, right, and that's that's
it is so much of both worlds. It's what yes, the part of it is the physical part, the physical part of pain, but then the other part of it is really the way that you interpret it. And mindset is all about interpretation,
right?
It's interpretation of.
So let me ask you a question real quick then. So. Having said that, when, Jane comes in, she's in pain, and, you guys go through your process of finding out, you look through everything and you do whatever you do, and you're like, well, there's nothing that we can track to this physical pain. Do you then look at it like, all right, well, then now we need to focus on that psychological side and see if it's just a mental thing?
That's hard because you try to think about saying that to a patient, right? It is most often taken as very negative, and they would respond as, so you're telling me this is in my head and that I'm crazy, right?
Well, right. So I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say like you explain that way, but is there a way to go about slowly?
Yeah. So that is our goal. That is the art, right? Trying to make sure that you incorporate all of those things without having them on the other side of, the exam room feeling defensive.
I'm a strength coach, so I bring pain. I'm just like, dude, you're gonna hurt. Like, get over it.
Yeah.
And they come in the next day. I'm like, we're gonna continue to do our thing. Like, oh, I'm also like, you're gonna work through it though.
Right. Yeah.
Which is also something I've been experiencing again as I've begun my 5-day-a-week program, dude. It's been brutal. My body.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, she's mindset, man. She's mind over matter. So, and Tara has my wife is weeks from giving birth. Zero sympathy. So I'm like, so not only am I responsible for every morning, it doesn't matter how sore I am, we have 2 big dogs and I have to take them for their runs every day, twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. So I have that. I have my 4.5-year-old daughter. I have my pregnant wife who, she's limited in what she can do now. So regardless of how sore I am, I just have to get through everything.
To do it. Yeah.
And it really is just a mindset thing. Because when you're not thinking about it, it doesn't really matter a lot. But it's been a humbling experience to have to now look back at like, this is probably what all my clients felt like the first couple of weeks of training with me. And then, but it's been good. But yeah, just the whole mindset thing too, because it is, and it's different, right? Because like I have guys that I train in the NFL and they'll take huge hits. Listen, hits that are hard to take, and they get up and they keep going. And when I see them, the next, a couple of days later, they're doing their workout, they're moving around. This, they don't talk about it. They just keep going, whether they're in pain or not is irrelevant. And it is that mindset thing, and then at the end of, unless it was like, an actual injury that really inflicted something that's taking them out of the game, because most athletes at that level, they're typically sore or they've got some pain or there's some level of hurt anyways.
Every day.
Yeah. And especially for like, I love MMA. I fought for, a few years. I trained for a few years. I didn't fight for as long as I trained, but, and I did boxing and stuff. And dude, everything that you go through in that is like, you fight, whenever your fights come up, you are hurt. Like, you got pains, you got injuries, you got things from fight camp. The other guy does too. And that's why I tell people, because people have no idea how hard it is to be in those situations, any professional sport, but especially fighting. And they'll like say things, I'm like, go to a fight camp for 8 weeks and then go fight someone. And tell me how you felt about it, okay? You have no room to say anything until you go through it. And that's why I don't say anything. I'm just like, dude, give respect to people that are in there.
Right.
It's for your entertainment. You get to sit around, drink beer, eat chips, do your thing. Like, these people have been cutting weight for weeks. They feel like crap. They're miserable. The cutting weight is atrocious. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And then just all, your fight camp, training, trying to like, you can't have a social life anymore. You want to like still, it's just, and you still have your job, whatever that is.
Right.
It's tough, man. People don't get it.
It's the mindset, like you said, it is like 80%, right? A lot of people say, so I do, I'm part of a CrossFit gym, right? So we do exercising, outside. Oh, sorry, no, I shouldn't. It is. You're right. I correct myself. We're no longer a CrossFit gym. We're not CrossFit affiliated, but it is that kind of high intensity training workout, that we do. And you really do give up in your head before your body can give up. Your brain's telling you like, I can't keep going. You need to stop, take a break. And it's
all mindset, baby.
It's all mindset. It is. Josh makes fun of me all the time because I think for me, I know the dangers, right? Obviously, I see a lot of patients that have herniated discs in their back or whatever from weightlifting and deadlifts, and so I've always
CrossFit injuries, which is a huge thing.
I've always been very conservative as far as with the weights that I do, and just very much about. I'm not going up in weights until like 4 minutes. And Josh is like, do more weight. You can lift more. Like, stop sandbagging.
Josh
this
is
exercise.
A bruiser though, man. Like Josh, her husband, he like was. He went to be a SEAL, and he got hurt. Wait, what happened?
It was an eye injury.
That's right. Yeah. So, because I trained him, and I trained like 5 other guys that all went into the SEALs. One made it. The other 5 of the 6. So Rodolfo Nieto, did you ever meet him? Mm-hmm. He like shattered his ankle.
Oh wow.
So he got obviously pushed off. Your husband, Josh, with the eye. I had a guy named Chris. He broke his elbow and his shoulder in an exercise, and he got recycled out. I had 2 other guys. So out of the 6 guys, only 1 made it. And it's not not because of the they couldn't physically do it, but because these injuries and it's
and that's what he says. It's always nobody's gonna give up. It's they will take me out, before I give up.
So the coolest experience, one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. So it was when Josh was, I think he had his contract and he was waiting, but there was a training for the people and then the bell out there and everything. So the guys that were actually, they either had contracts, they were getting contracts, or they were starting the process. And because I trained so many guys, they had one of their top level guys call me. He's like, hey, we know that you're training a bunch of our guys. Would you like to come to a training with us? I said, yeah, that'd be great. This time I'm 31.
Okay.
The next oldest guy was 24, which everyone called him grandpa.
Yeah.
I was like, this is going to be tough.
So
it was a 9-hour day. So I have 3 things going against me. A, I'm old. I was in good shape though. It was a 9-hour day, and I do have injuries. So my shoulders, and I've worked really hard at repairing as much as I can, but if you can feel clicks and I can hear grinding and stuff. I can do pulse really well, not right now, but I could at that point. But the constant repetitive motion of the log training stuff, we gotta do the log thing.
Yeah.
That finally wore out my shoulders, and so I ended up having cuts on the sides of my head from the log, because I only have 3 guys in my group, because I'm 6'3". Everybody's also very short. I was 6'3". There's a guy that was 6'4", and another guy was 6'5". So they put 3 of us with that 400-pound log, with it raining all day. So the log is water soaked. Every other group had 6 to 7 guys. And then I just destroyed both my ankles from basketball and then years of sports. That matters because I don't have a lot of feeling in my feet.
Yeah.
There's times, and I don't know why this is, but they'll be really sensitive for who knows what reason, but overall, they're I can't feel much. So that's always exciting, especially when I'm hanging out with all my guy friends, or like at your husband's bachelor party, and guys think I'm trying to play footsies with them. Like, guys, I can't feel my feet, and I'm 6'3", so I have long
You guys
legs.
play footsies at bachelor parties.
Unwilling or
Right.
unknowingly, yes. They'll be like, "Bro, move your feet." And I'm like, "Because I can't feel anything.
Yeah,
I have no feeling in my feet overall." So
it's the life of a fighter.
right, and so that
You guys
doesn't
get
always.
injuries. I mean,
That's not always a good thing when you're like doing stuff with some of the things. Anyways, it was a great experience. I've never been so sore in my life. I had a charity event that night. I survived for 1 hour before I left because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't even wash my hair without sitting on the shower and like putting my elbows on my knees and then just it was bad.
Yeah, so that Josh, tells me often
Yeah, so he's
that
a
I
bruiser.
should be,
He's a bruiser.
lifting more weight and adding more plates on. But I should say I go easy, right? I do what I know I can do, which I don't know is the right thing, but
well, it is, especially for that type of training though.
Yeah,
but Josh is a bruiser. He just goes freaking ham.
he goes, right?
Yeah,
100% or nothing.
Yeah. Which is always fun because he's a fun guy to hang out with, especially anything that involves being outdoors.
Yeah,
because he's very mentally just eye on the prize and just go for it.
100% or nothing,
which is exciting.
Yeah.
So, but all right. So I've asked you a lot of questions, gone through a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up for the day?
Wear your mask. I think, again, just kind of going back and being the medical liaison here, I don't know that I can stress that more. It's not just about you, right? It is about protecting your community. I feel very strongly that we should be doing our job to protect everybody else. But I feel like that's the only point that I want to stress.
All right.
Yeah.
Wear your mask.
Wear your mask.
It's important when you're in public. You don't have to wear it 24/7. Just when you're with other people. All right, my dear. Well, thank you so much. And for all of our listeners, thank you so much. You're with Stephen Bassito on my podcast, Get It. We are on the Social Nostra Network, so make sure you follow us on Instagram, or if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment, you share. We appreciate all the feedback, and we, of course, love and thank you all for your support. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And again, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.